Hello and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. We are here live on the Fox D Network. We've got Ron Hamlin and Evan. I am so sorry. I don't think I got your last name, McGraw.
Oh, no worries.
Over in the corner. Got you guys here for an interview. They own a gaming esports coaching company. Before we get into all the questions and the fun stuff, I do want to just give a quick plug to the Fox D Network.
The Fox D coin is a totally community-driven coin with no pre-mine and no developer's wallet that is keeping the coin held behind a wall. Fox D is 100% transparent, and it is open to everybody and anybody, making it a coin for the people and by the people. The unique advantage of the Fox D coin is what it offers, and that is utilizing this right now, the Fox D network. The coin gives everybody the opportunity to get seen on our network and gives your content a chance to shine, with your audience growing with you and the network. We're always accepting new guest streamers and contributors to the network, so if you would like to expand your brand, you know what to do. Check us out on our website at foxdnetwork.com. That is Fox, the letter D, network.com. Or you can always support the coin as well at foxdcoin.com. That is Fox, the letter D, coin.com, where you can download your own wallet. Or if you want to buy some coins yourself, you can check us out on Crex24, BitSales, FX, and Free Exchange.
So like I say, I'm going to jump right into it. Thank you guys again for joining us. Really excited to talk to you guys. I'm a huge gaming person myself, so
Nice.
Hearing about all this is exciting for me, to say the least. I know that, if I'm not mistaken, you guys run a company, like I said before, that provides coaching for different esports. Is that correct?
That is right, yep.
What made you guys get into that?
Well, actually, I would say that I'm original founder. Evan has come on as a co-founder about 6 months or so into the company from start back when. So I've been an avid gamer most of my life. I did get a Nintendo NES back when I was a teenager with my own money from a yard sale, and then got into WoW and all kinds of stuff. But I didn't know what esports was, and I was starting to build a company to provide a space for console and PC gamers to get together and play. When I learned about the word esports and what it is, and all of the things that are out there for kids to have opportunities, there's 400 colleges that have programs of one way or another, and about half of those have varsity teams with scholarships available. And I'm a foster parent, so in learning about that kind of segment of kids and what they miss when they're launching beyond high school, it just was something that provided another way that they could find a solution and then even make income.
That's excellent. Very admirable. What about yourself, Evan? What made you
Absolutely.
join the team?
Well, my history has been in technology and business development for a while, and of the various tech companies that I've worked for, some of them had actually sponsored esports.
Oh,
But even going further back than that, I can remember going to the computer lab in like the year 2000. Ron said that he bought his SNES when he was a teenager. He's really dating himself. I was in high school in 2000, and following my older brother, of course, and him and all his friends were playing, Quake on LAN, and I thought easily this could be, something sponsored by the school or some kind of team-based or focused event. And 20 years had gone by, and we hadn't really seen any improvements or anything along those lines. When I heard what Ron was doing, I said I had to be a part of this. My background is also in swimming as well, so I was a year-round swimmer. Starting since I was 5 years old. We lived right next to the Swim and Racket Club. Then ended up participating in college as well. And so coming from that background and knowing the benefits of having an extracurricular, something that you can be a part of, grow you as a person. You can be a good teammate. You can be coachable. You can give you an opportunity at that next level. When we did the research, we realized that about 80% or so of kids right now who are concentrating specifically on esports, they don't do another extracurricular at all, and that's a huge subset of kids who are incredibly skilled at what they do that could benefit from coaching, but could also benefit from additional opportunities as well. So it's kind of a paying back measure. I had these opportunities, now I want to be able to create these opportunities for kids who are good at esports as well.
That's excellent. I'm sure it helps a lot with community building as well. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Well, great. Ron had actually mentioned the fact that he kind of learned esports and had heard the term. What do you constitute as being an esport, or what would you say defines it? Because there's a lot of competitive gaming out there, not necessarily all considered esports.
Yeah, so I define it to people that don't know anything about it as any video game that has two sides to compete, right? Smash Brothers, battle royales, first-person shooters, MOBAs, and RTS, right? StarCraft would be RTS.
Yep.
But like that's the concrete definition. But you can also consider certain other titles, Zelda, Mario, when you're speedrunning.
Yeah.
As well, although that is a little bit of a narrow piece. I actually know
Kind of a gray area.
Gray area. That's a better way to put it. One girl that I used to work with at my professional job was looking to go back to school to further her degree, and I connected her with Erskine, who is a school in this area, Union, South Carolina, and they have an esports program. She's a speedrunner, and she was given a scholarship as a speedrunner to go there and attend.
Yeah, one of the first tournaments that we had put on was a zombies event over Halloween, and you wouldn't think that a player playing against the computer would be necessarily considered an esport, but there's a whole niche around that as well. And the winner of our event was actually a world record holder for a particular map, using specific weapons, something along those lines. So you can find competition in almost anything when it comes to esports. Right now, we're preliminarily concentrating on the esports that kind of mirror the existing, what we like to call analog sports that are out there now, where it's either one-on-one or team-based, because when folks can see the comparisons between the two, then they can connect the dots, right? Like, this is definitely something that requires skill, and it's entertaining to watch, right? I mean, we're rooting for the football players on the field, not because we like them as individuals, but because it's entertaining to see them, play the game and things like that. So there's definitely a lot of connections there. And, when people see those comparisons made, then they can say, well, obviously esports needs to be a part of our infrastructure right now. And the big driving force behind Virtual Reload is that underlying infrastructure is not there right now. There aren't teams for these kids to join when they're at the high school level or the middle school level, even the Pee-wee level and elementary. You can get started in football as young as 8 years old, but what esports team or program are you going to put your kid in if you know that they have a proclivity for video games and want to go that route? It doesn't exist. And America, the United States, is actually very far behind the rest of the world when it comes to building this infrastructure. So there's definitely a gap there that Ron and I are hoping to fill.
That's excellent. Yeah, I mean, to your point, I've seen all kinds of huge Korean tournaments where they've got just fans lining the seats and everything. And I actually worked for a company that is a sponsor to 100 Thieves, if you guys are familiar.
Nice.
Yep. Very
much so.
Yep. So I actually got tickets to go and watch the League of Legends World Championship event when it was at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Pretty entertaining to see, but definitely not the same scale as what they have, in other places such as Korea, that's been doing StarCraft tournaments for years and years.
Absolutely. Well, did you see the people pouring into the streets once Leagues was over?
No.
Yeah, there's video if you can find it, and it looks like a celebration, like something along the lines that you would see if their team won the World Series or the Super Bowl. Folks were pouring into the streets. Of course, it wasn't happening in the U.S. Because I don't think the U.S. won Worlds. But it just goes to show you, and also one of the other statistics that we keep citing all the time is that there were more viewers for Worlds in the past several years than there were for the Super Bowl.
Yep.
If you're including global viewership, things like that. So it's definitely something that for whatever reason isn't as prevalent here as it should be. But we obviously have a lot of catching up to do. But it's a great opportunity.
Now there was another American-based event that was very well done and watched, and probably would compare to the League event that goes on in Korea and wherever else. And that was the Fortnite World Cup a couple years ago.
That's right.
Did you get a chance to watch that, Brandon?
I never did much on Fortnite, so I didn't see that one specifically, though.
Okay. Yeah, they were
the younger man's game.
I would have to look up. I would have to look up some of the details to know this for sure. But they were in a a football stadium somewhere, one of the ones that they play major, NFL events in and things like that. They had people there physically in the stands, and then they were broadcasting it. In fact, if you went into Fortnite during the event, and I know this because we held a watch party for it, if you were in Fortnite during the event of the World Cup, it was popping up, letting you know, hey, go watch the World Cup. And I think you could watch it from the game client itself.
Oh, cool. That's
which is
cool.
pretty amazing how they did that.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, a lot of these NFL stadiums lend themselves very well to esports events. I mean, Ron was just down in, was it Mercedes-Benz Stadium for an Atlanta Falcons game where after the game they played was Rocket League.
Rocket League, yeah. They were posting it to the Halo screen above the stadium.
Right. And when you think about it, they're giant televisions or monitors, right?
Yeah.
Whichever vernacular you use now. But yeah, no, it works perfectly. And I would love to one day do a tournament in Jerry World down Dallas on that 100-foot screen that he has.
Yep.
So I mean, it'd just be perfect.
Yeah, to your point, they're excellent venues for it. And I know that, giving out those big venues or having them booked and available for these sports is a costly thing. But to your point, esports is growing to a massive scale at this point. Do you guys know what the esports industry brings in annually as far as finances goes?
It's a couple billion right now. I don't know the exact numbers. Right. I believe one of the things I had looked at recently said in a couple of years it's going to be 5 or more billion.
Yeah, and that may actually go to answer a previous question that I had about why hasn't it really taken off, is because the advertising dollars may not necessarily be there right now. I mean, it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but if you talk to the experts, they'll tell you that it's mostly investment side right now, not so much revenue. So once the revenues start to catch up with the investments, then you'll start to see esports really explode. But and again, it just goes to show you that we're really getting in there at the ground floor right now, and everything kind of builds on one another. If we are able to establish these fundamentals, this building block of esports and esports talent at the lower levels, then we'll be able to increase the amount of opportunities for these esports players at the university and collegiate levels, and there'll be more scholarships, at that next level. But then they'll also be pumping out much more mature and well-trained esports players for those professional ranks, right? And then once we get to that level, and it attracts the dollars for advertisement, and ticket sales, and things like that, then you'll start to see more of the economy get behind esports, and that's really, once that happens, that's really where we're going to see it take off, and we're trying to lay the groundwork for that, because esports has really been built from the top down. There are definitely professionals out there, and they're definitely making good living, but they're doing it on their own. And they're kind of taking the opposite approach that all the analog sports athletes have taken, where they've started young and they've worked their way up and they've finally made it. And we're able to, flesh out not just professional leagues, but amateur leagues. And, how many different leagues are there for amateur baseball right now? It's I think it goes from single A to quadruple A, or however and deep it goes. Baseball players out there, correct me. But, that doesn't really exist for esports just yet. But once it does, then again, it'll catch up to the rest of the world, and we'll finally made it.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, I think the advertisers getting on board is going to be a big part of it. I've seen, I think the only commercial that I can think of that was by a major company that featured an esports player was one of the famous League of Legends player, Doublelift, was in a Mercedes-Benz commercial.
Nice.
Yep. But again, to switch it back, it's something that you will only see on Twitch, or you will only see on the actual stream itself. And that actually kind of leads into another question that I had for you guys. What do you see as being the best broadcasting platform for esports? I mean, of course, in person is going to take off eventually. Right now, 90% of it or more is on Twitch. Would you like to see it on something like ESPN or other sports channels, maybe its own channel?
So I would like to see. I mean, Twitch is great and everything, but until it is on a platform that your average parent is used to watching, I think it's going to be slower in taking off, right? So whether it be one of the ESPN channels that exist now, or a new esports focused channel that is on readily accessible cable networks and things like that, from a known brand such as ESPN, that's gonna and ESPN has published some esports events already, right?
Yep, they've done a few, and I know especially during like the pandemic when sports weren't actually taking place, they would fill some time with esports events
Yeah,
as well.
I got so many hits when they did like the NASCAR, not e-racing version of NASCAR on ESPN, and there was another event. Was it an Overwatch? I can't remember if it was an Overwatch League event or if it was like some Rocket League, whatever it was. But there was two different events happened on ESPN, and everybody that knew what I was doing was like, "Hey, I saw this on ESPN." Blah blah blah. So, I mean, it gets a lot of attention when it shows up there.
Right. Yeah, it definitely adds a lot of legitimacy, and again, it's where all the money is, right? In our early days when Ron and I first started working, we interviewed lots of folks who were putting on their own events and things like that, and we said, hey, weren't you excited when such and such an event appeared on ESPN2? And there was actually some backlash to that comment, like, well, we don't need ESPN2, we have Twitch, we have our own grassroots platforms that we're operating on, and all that's great if the advertisers and the money flip back over to Twitch and where all the gamers are. So we're kind of in that in-between space where, do we want to promote esports on the terrestrial platforms? Like, are they ever going to go away? They are the 800-pound gorilla. I think that we should, but that doesn't mean that we have to stop broadcasting on Twitch and some of the other grassroots platforms that the esports community has grown up. And, once the advertisers realize that there are a lot of eyeballs on Twitch and a lot of those other platforms, then the money will start coming in. I mean, there are plenty of YouTube stars and Twitch streamers right now that are making a healthy living, and once that also increases, then so will esports. So all of our tournaments right now that we are currently broadcasting, we have a Twitch channel. We broadcast them to YouTube and replay them on YouTube as well. So it also offers a great opportunity for all of those local players. I mean, our local Smash events right here in Greenville, South Carolina, are on our YouTube channel. Anybody around the world can watch those kids compete. It's a really great opportunity. So to answer your original question, I would say certainly Twitch is number one. YouTube would probably number two for platforms.
Where it's at currently. Yeah, understood. Yep. Well, excellent. That's perfect. And actually, I've been taking up a bunch of time talking about just esports in general. I know you guys want to talk about, probably the reason that you came in here, your actual company, regarding the coaching and everything else. So just right off the bat, what exactly does that coaching entail? How do those sessions go?
Yeah. So our coaches are all, sorry, I wasn't sure if you were done asking your words.
I wasn't sure what else to put in there. Sorry, go ahead.
Double period.
Yeah, exactly.
So all of our coaches have some level of experience in esports prior to coming to join us. They either were college players or semi-pro players, or they coached college level or pro level. So we've been very fortunate to be able to field that level of talent. So they all understand what it is to coach, the things that are needed for that. So they go through and they'll assess the skill level of the client in some level of a broad review, or getting in the game themselves with the client to play with them. And then they'll start from whatever level the client is at, but we're building out curriculum to start from the absolute basics. Going from setting up your either keys or controller layout to cameras and everything like that, and then setting up drills and going through kind of like from the ground up. Basically, we compare that to like, any other analog sport fundamentals, right? You're not going to go and score a touchdown in football before you learn how to properly move and build your muscles up, and then actually catch the ball and all the stuff that goes into it, right? So that's kind of the approach we take, and our goal is to have someone with us for an extended period of time. We're not really going for just a one-off session type of scenario. We want to be able to focus and help them attain what goal the client has in mind to go to.
Absolutely. Yeah. So essentially, if you log on to virtualreload.com right now, it's at the bottom of your screen, and you find one of our coaches, we have coaches for specific titles because we're trying to align the titles and the coaches that we have in those particular titles with what scholarships are currently being offered at the next level. And it's essentially like hiring a private tutor right now. You come in with a certain skill set, they'll assess you, and then they'll give you some things to work on, and then you'll be able to go from there. It's kind of like going to the golf course down the street and hiring a range pro for a particular lesson. However, we recommend that you have a long-term relationship with this coach because there are a lot of skills that you can build up throughout your esports journey. And until it exists, we're also looking at putting together some winter leagues as well. So it'll give you the opportunity to be continually coached and to also continually have the opportunity to showcase those skills in matches with other players as well. So kind of building that player resume so that you have something concrete that you can take to that coach at that next level who's trying to recruit you and say, look, this is how coachable I am. This is where I started. This is where I've begun. And, I have a great idea of how I need to improve and, put me on your team.
That's awesome. Very impressive. I'm glad to hear that you guys have, a mindset of continuing that education, if you will.
Yes, absolutely.
To your point, there's always something new to learn. As a huge Rocket League player, it goes from hitting the ball to dribbling to air dribbling to flip resets and just et cetera, et cetera. So
absolutely.
Yeah. That's very cool.
We're in a very unique position right now where all the players that have reached that next level have all done it on their own. So a lot of the anecdotal evidence that we've been getting from the coaches that we have now that have coached at the collegiate level have said that they've needed to break down the players that they have and kind of build them back up into the mold of how they actually can really be a solid player at this particular game and not just really good at one thing or a particular position, whatever it was that got them there. And all of the collegiate coaches now are just recruiting internally from their own, student body rather than recruiting from the lower ranks. So, if we can improve the overall quality of those players coming out of high school and giving them additional skill sets rather than just, whatever it is that they taught themselves, then they'll have a better opportunity at making it at the next level.
Yeah, and to that point, I always bring up, so right now the colleges are mostly looking for students who have a passion for games and have good academics, but they're not going to be able to sustain that forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually going to have their rosters completely filled out. They're going to have, one or two or three spots open on the team, and they're going to have hundreds or thousands of applicants for those positions, vying for those positions. So they're going to have to figure out a way to filter it out. So just like if you wanted to go to college on a scholarship for football, but your experience with football is either flag football or throwing the ball around in the backyard with your dad, you're not going to get that scholarship, right? Whereas right now, that's what esports is doing. So you're going to go through the process of starting, whatever the lowest league for football is, but like Pee Wee,
yeah,
right, all the way up through, and then because you played for so long, you have all those skills ingrained. And it's not so much just how do you play with the ball, but it's also the idea of being experienced and getting coached, right?
Yep. Playing with others.
That's what we're doing for esports. Is we want to be that club program where when they come to us, they already know, they've gotten to a certain level on their own. But again, are they doing those the best things that they could do, right? Whereas, and also we can short circuit the process as well, because if you're wanting to get really good at Rocket League, you're going to have to figure it out, right? You go in the game and play around with it when there might be certain drills that you may not be aware of that you could be doing to hone your skills that our coach could tell you this is what you should do.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yep. Makes perfect sense. Glad to hear the idea of building out these other leagues to make it happen because to my knowledge, all of them are basically, as far as esports goes, it's just a leaderboard. You're in the top 50, top 10, top 100. There's no real way to show your ability to work with others, to be coached, those things.
Right. Yeah. And maybe that guy who's at number 70 could rocket all the way up to number 1 if only he had coaching.
Yep.
Right?
Somebody to tell him.
Be more. He or she. Yeah. Sorry. Maybe. Ron, good looking out.
They, whatever.
They, indeed.
So I know you guys have talked about the fact that most of your coaches are coaches from other levels or have some kind of esports coaching experience. Is that one of your requirements, or are you guys looking to bring on new coaches? Like, what's the future look like for your company?
Yeah, so for now, that's what we're looking for. But one of the other things, so the player side, all the stuff we talked about thus far has been from the aspect of the player in that game, okay? But we don't want to just teach the game. Okay, because when you look at an esports event, all of the different aspects that go into an analog sporting event, like when you watch football on TV, the players on the field is only 24 guys that are a part of a much larger team that's making that happen, right? You've got graphic design, you've got video production, you've got the sportscasters, all of those different things, and esports is the same. So we want to be able to provide classes and a space for maybe the person that has a passion for announcing said game as a shoutcaster doesn't have the skills on the sticks to play that game at that level, but they love talking about it, right? So we want to have a place for that person. So where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so we want to be like the esports education overall, right? So one of those aspects is coaches. So we bring in someone who may be really good at a particular game, but they've never been taught that game to someone else. We want to be able to teach them through that process. Okay, this is how you're going to take what you know and divulge that to someone else in a way that they can
Right.
bring it in.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's that old adage that those who can't teach, and vice versa. So you might make a really great coach, but not necessarily a really great esports player. We're looking for those folks too. And a lot of new developments that Virtual Reload is working on will help you do that. So we're coming out with curriculum on how to become an esports coach. It's going to be something that's going to be available to you through Virtual Reload eventually. But to Ron's point, one of the summer camps that we ran just this past year was teaching kids all aspects of the esports environment. So throughout the week, we were teaching them the particular esport that they signed up for, some other intangibles like cybersecurity. Of course, we were including fitness as well. But we also included, the graphics design, the shoutcasting, and the production value that can go into esports, which requires quite a bit. There's editing that needs to be done. There's an understanding of the tournament functionality that needs to be done. So by the end of that week, the campers themselves were able to put on their own esports tournament and broadcast it live and did all their own shoutcasting and everything and created the final product. And that's something that we did to mirror a program at Oklahoma University, where we spoke with Michael Moog Aguilar not too long ago about his vision for esports in the future, and he is currently offering majors in all of those different fields. So you can go to Oklahoma and you can major in broadcasting or graphic design specifically for esports, which, again, will increase the amount of opportunities for folks in this community exponentially if other colleges and universities also pick up on that and offer the same thing.
All starts with one domino, right? You got to get one moving.
Exactly. Journey of 1,000 miles.
Yeah, you got it. That's exactly it. And while we're on the subject of your coaches and the different availabilities that there are currently, I did have a chance to check out your guys' website before the interview, of course.
Nice.
Noticed that there's quite a large selection of games that you can be coached on, don't get me wrong. But there's a few of those games that are more popular that I didn't see available. Can I assume you guys are working on adding coaches for things like what I saw was I may have missed it. I didn't see Fortnite or like Counter-Strike on there. And I know those are some of the bigger grossing ones or the ones that have been continuing for a good while, if you will.
Yeah, we have a couple of positions that a league is another one we don't have covered right now. So we're working on expanding the list of coaches to include some of those titles that we're currently missing. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, and the reason for that is that we're actually being very picky about which coaches that we bring on. There are some sites out there that are just like, you say you can play the game, then you can post your price online, and it's kind of like the Fiverr of esports coaching. We're trying to be slightly different than that because we're also looking out for our coaches as well, right? If you come to us and you say you're a league coach and you want to fill up your schedule and you want this to become your future career, well, we're not going to hire like 10 other league coaches as well on top of that for you to be competing with them for all of the clients that are coming to us. We want to focus on getting the best possible coach that we can for that particular title and then filling up their schedule before we open up that job opportunity to somebody else as well, because like I said, we like to take care of our coaches, and we've cycled through some of those. So we did have a Fortnite coach at one point, who moved on to a better opportunity, and definitely don't blame me for that. But like I had mentioned previously, we are trying to align all the titles that we are offering with titles that are being offered scholarships at the next level, because that is the ultimate goal. So we're keeping a close eye on all the colleges and universities out there that are offering scholarships for esports and trying to match that with a very highly qualified coach that would like to make this a career.
Well, and I'm sure, to add to that point, you're trying to actually coach these people in esports. You're not trying to boost their level. There's a huge difference there, and you guys are making a very
Actually,
good job.
That's so funny that you bring that up, because I was at an entrepreneur cohort a couple weeks ago, and one of the guys there was like, "Hey, would you consider, basically offering your services to boost other players?" And I was like, probably not, because that's not really going to be
Yeah.
helping them attain something ongoing.
Yep, you're just
Yeah.
giving a reward. That's a big difference.
Right.
Well, excellent. There was a couple other questions that had been provided, such as, when it comes to, I think you had said yourself, being good at a specific character. Why are like certain characters and other nuances so important to things, to these players when they do play games? And why is it so important to, make them fully fledged players as opposed to specifically good players, if you will?
Well, okay, so basically in football or any other sport, right, you don't have the quarterback also be a linebacker, right? You're now, granted, early on in the younger leagues, there is that like play every position, figure out what you like or what you're good at, right? But at some point, you either prefer a certain position or you could become really good at a certain position, whichever way it happens. And games are the same way. And not every game is this, but like Overwatch or League of Legends would be two great examples, right?
Yep.
You've got all these different roles and positions to play and characters in those roles that perform with different abilities.
Yep.
So you would become, at the higher levels, you become a very, very good tank or a very, very good support or a very, very, very good mid laner, those kind of things. And so there is positional coaches, or there should be if there aren't, positional coaches in some of these titles, because just like how in football you've got your
defensive coordinator,
yeah,
you've got your offensive coordinator,
all the
quarterback's
different,
coach, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So because they get very specialized at the role they play, at the position they play.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's
the other side of that coin is that it's very important to be well-rounded and be able to learn new skills, because there are some things in esports that are out of your control that aren't necessarily the same way with analog sports, and that's like updates to particular characters or nerfs, right? If you've gotten really far with a particular character and all of a sudden they nerf them, you are all of a sudden no longer valuable to your team. Where does that kind of leave you? So it does help you to be a little bit more well-rounded there. But a lot of the very position-based games that Ron had mentioned, like League or Overwatch, things like that, we have gotten some very specific coaches. So we've gotten support-level coaches and offensive-minded coaches, and not everybody is built the same. So if you have a particular mindset where you're the aggressor and you like to jump in front lane and just go ham, then you're probably not going to do well as a support player, and that's fine. I did every stroke growing up, and once I made it to college, I was sprint, middle distance, freestyle, backstroke. Never had to swim a length of the pool breaststroke ever again, and I was so thankful for it because I was so terrible at it. But I could if you had to, but it wouldn't have been worth anybody's time. But
I kind of figured that's exactly what the case was. I'm glad that you guys are really recognizing that, these differences, because again, it's learning how to be coached, and it's boosting, and we don't want more boosters out there.
Right.
Let me tell you now, we don't want more boosters. So that's excellent. I think the only other question that I had that was kind of predetermined for me, if you will, was well, actually, I believe we already answered that one, so never mind. It was just regarding what constitutes an esports, and I think that was one of the first things that we covered. So, well, one thing is though, why are so many young people wanting to earn their spot in the esports industry? I mean, of course, everybody wants to be in the NFL. There's not really an NFL for gaming right now, unless you want to talk about like the LCS and the RLCS. Like, there's very, very small number of places that you can go with it. And I assume you guys are really just trying to build out, as you said, the infrastructure, give them a reason to want to do these things and a place to go once they have.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So thinking about someone who is an esports player, right? But before they're at that level, like they're 10, 11, 12 years old, and they are very passionate about video games. They don't want to go out and run and kick a ball on the field, right? And then their parents, as they're growing up in games, are sitting there telling them, don't spend so much time on the screen. Don't you play too many video games, all this kind of stuff. But that's what they do. That's what they love. So they're passionate about it. esports provides a space where it becomes legitimate. It provides an opportunity for them to either get an education or, and I'm not saying that, there's players out there that don't have an education, but you can either go to college with a scholarship and get, any kind of a degree. It could be a law degree if you wanted it to be, right? Or getting to the professional level to be able to earn income, or even become a streamer to earn income. So there's basically every way you could imagine that they could improve themselves through gaming, right? So now it's taking something that has been a negative impact in their life, potentially, or at least viewed as a negative impact, and turned into a complete positive.
Absolutely.
And 80% of the kids who get into an esports program aren't doing another extracurricular.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are all, very intelligent and skilled, and to your point, passionate individuals about their activity. And, why shouldn't they have the same opportunities as everybody else just because they're interested in esports when there is so much opportunity out there to be had? Right. And I think you also nailed it as well during the question, Brandon, is that it gives them a place to belong. Right. They're not just sitting at home by themselves anymore playing against strangers on the internet. If you give them that opportunity to, have something to work towards, like their regular season or a championship, or just helping the team in general, and then also being part of a team, that's another huge intangible that this particular extracurricular will give to them that they don't currently have, or, they prefer not to, have to waste time playing soccer in order to achieve when their real passion lies with esports. Right. So, again, it's taking something that already exists that, that Ron had mentioned, and turning it into a positive, and really reaping, the rewards from that we're trying to instill. And, it also shows itself at that next level as well. One of the anecdotes that we receive from our college coaches is that a lot of times when these players do make it to the next level, they're not used to no longer being the big fish in their small pond, right? They're a small group of friends that they have, and they're the best player, and all of a sudden they make it to the next level, and they're in the actual room sitting next to a guy who's better than them or girl, and just like not being used to that. And there has been some instances where they've had to learn to become a better teammate. That could play a huge role in not just their esports life, but being a good coworker as well. Right? It's just there are so many opportunities for improvement and advancement of being a part of an extracurricular activity that they're just not reaping right now. And if only it had existed for them, then the things could be incredibly different. Every single coach that we have brought on to Virtual Reload has said to a person, I wish this had existed when I was coming up. And that's all the evidence that we need to know that we're on the right path.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's, one of the big reasons that I was so excited to do this interview for you guys, because I absolutely fall in that category. I did play multiple sports all throughout high school: football, basketball, tennis. I played anything I could just to get some energy out. But every second that I had available, I was sitting down and playing some Halo or playing Call of Duty back in the day. So yeah, to have this kind of a service available is it's a game changer. It really is. It's going to really open up a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. But one quick bonus question, I was going to let you guys go, but Ron kind of hit the nail on the head, so I have to ask it. What do you think is going to be the driving factor to getting more parents, as he said, to really be on board? Because a lot of them aren't looking at, even if they watch college sports, they're not watching college Rocket League or college League of Legends tournaments and stuff. So what's that driving factor, other than, of course, making it available on other platforms, to really push this so that parents are on board and they can actually, get behind their kids sitting down and playing games for hours on end?
Well, there's a lot I could say about that, but one of the things is it's another way to connect with your child. Right. If your kid is passionate about Rocket League and they're playing that all the time and they're watching it on Twitch and things like that, but every time they're doing anything with it, you as a parent are tuning out. Right. I like to see it as a way that they can find a new connection with their kid. Right.
Absolutely.
So there's that aspect, and then the other is that I like to say this to parents is that if your student who is graduating from high school is a gamer and they're going to go to college. And they're not going for any kind of a program for esports, but they're just going to go and study something and stuff. even if you don't provide them a method, they're going to find a way to play video games in their dorm, right? And in that situation, it could be, and I say this tongue in cheek because I don't think all gaming is negative. Like, as far as like, you still learn stuff through games. There's systems that you learn and things like that, but it can be to their detriment if they're either hiding it or that's the thing. So, because it's going to affect their studies and things like that. Versus putting them into an esports program in that same school or a school next door that has a team with scholarship. You're on the varsity team, even if you don't have a scholarship while you're on that team, you still have to have a certain grade level to stay on the team.
Stay eligible.
Right?
Yep.
Now it turns that game time that they would be playing secretly, if you will, into a positive impact, right? Because they've got to perform for the team and they've got to perform in their studies.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a carrot and a stick. And to build on that, for the most part, I don't want to be too presumptuous here, but parents love their kids, right, and want to see them happy.
I think you broke ground on that one. That was
See, 404 stop error on Ron's face.
yeah, right, exactly.
No. But yeah, I mean, they want to provide for them. They want to see them do well. So that's one of the reasons why we're harping on scholarships so much, is in order to get the parents involved, because it gives their kids something to work towards and an opportunity at the next level. They're going to be there for that. But also speaking to what Ron had mentioned, if you have a kid that you're all throughout your life, you're thinking, I can't wait to have a son because I want to watch him play football, and then all of a sudden he's more interested in esports. Now, wouldn't it be better for you to go cheer him on during his esports tournament than nothing at all? And we have real life experience of that as well. When at the end of our camps, our campers were invited to participate in several tournaments for cash, right? There were cash prizes involved, and all of our campers that were entered ended up finishing in the money. But what I loved seeing most of all was that the tournaments took place on a Saturday, so the parents were able to come and watch. So they came to our location, they sat behind their kids, they watched them play. Some of the parents were shouting out, like, don't forget to up B, or do this, that, or the other thing, and they're really getting involved. And once we told them, like, well, hey, your child finished first, and here's the prize money, there was even better. That all the experiences were the cake, and that was the icing. So and then as they were leaving, we were like, in the future, your child could potentially get a college scholarship for this. They had no idea. I believe the mom's direct quote was, "You're kidding," and we're like, no, it's what we're working on. And so a lot of what we're doing right now is all education. Around what the possibilities are and what the opportunities are going to be, and if you just get behind organizations like Virtual Reload, they'll exist and they'll come about even sooner. So, that if that's not evidence enough for parents to get their kids involved, the only missing piece is where do you send them?
Yeah,
and that's what we're trying to be.
Excellent. Well, that's awesome. I've super enjoyed getting to talk to you guys. This is very near and dear to my heart. Before I let you guys go, I wanted to see if there's anything else specific that you want to talk about regarding your coaches, your company, any of the upcoming tournaments. Free couple-minute plug for you guys. Go ahead.
Oh, great.
Well, we are planning, and I know it's a little bit further away, but we are planning an all-girls camp week in June. That will be provided both in physical locations here in Greenville and possibly Atlanta. We'd also like to see if we can open up that to virtual students as well. And then we do have an upcoming Valorant series in probably January timeframe of having some a free entry league to provide prize pools at the end of the league.
Absolutely. Yeah. All of our camps have also been open to virtual campers as well. All of the instructional events are mostly virtual. So even if you see a camp going on in Greenville, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can find us on Twitter, the Virtual Reload, and join our Discord as well, Virtual Reload, also for all of the announcements of events that are coming up. If you are in the upstate or anywhere close to South Carolina, we do a weekly Smash event here in Greer. So, come on out. But, aside from that, I would encourage you to visit virtualreload.com. If there is a particular title that you're passionate about, please reach out to us directly. There's a contact field on the website. You can DM us directly on at The Virtual Reload on Twitter as well. If you have any questions or if there's anything that we can do, like, if you have any comments, suggestions, we wish you would do this. Can you hurry up and hire a coach in this particular title? We'll do it. We'll snap to it. So, this is, we will never forget that esports is only where it is right now because of all the esports community and the grassroots efforts that the players that have come before us have put together. So, we're here for the players. We won't forget that. So if there's anything that we can do, please reach out to us, and we'll be happy to hear from you.
Quick correction to the socials.
Oh,
Twitter and Instagram are Virtual Reload, and
And what's-
Facebook and Twitch are The Virtual Reload.
We had to confuse it.
Right.
It's never
Yeah, just cut out everything
Well,
I
it
just
doesn't
said.
help that someone else existed with just Virtual Reload on both of those platforms. So it's like,
Oh, really?
what do we do now?
Well, we're the real ones. So.
There you go. Great. Well, the one thing I would suggest is keep doing what you guys are doing. Love the idea. Love, helping build the community and really grow the esports world. I appreciate you guys for taking the time. I'll let you guys
Thanks for having
sign
me.
off. Of course, absolutely. Brandon with a party full of fools, Ron Hamlin, and Evan McGregor. Or I'm sorry,
McGraw. Yeah, that's fine.
Ewan
No
McGregor.
worries.
I mean, you can't hate on that, right? Obi-Wan.
Yeah, thank you. You saw my face and you thought you and McGregor. I appreciate it.
Evan McGraw, thank you so much. You guys are fantastic. Thanks for your time. Keep doing what you're doing.